And the battle continues between 458 and tOki as we go into game number 3. The first two games were won by 458, who played Protoss versus Terran in the first game, one with the carrier play on the next on the command centers, took down all the command centers, and in game number 2, he had a read on tOki. tOki underprepared for the counterattack, and 458 just broke a wall into his choke that was late, and then broke a bigger hole into that same choke. And just waltzed right in there with his Reavers, Dragoons, Zealots, and turned it into a pretty quick game. tOki didn't have much of a chance. But now 458 is back on the Protoss, because that's his main race. He pretty much only plays Protoss. He's the Protoss specialist in Korea. Although there are better Protoss players than him. But he pretty much exclusively plays Protoss. He's blue this game. On the bottom middle spot. The blue Protoss is 458. Whereas tOki is now the brown Terran on the top middle spot. A spot he was already in the first game. And he starts off with the barracks, followed by a depot. And we're just gonna sit and wait and see how this game unfolds. Who will be victorious? Who will be not victorious? Who will bite the dust? 458 mixing it up, no longer going for the Nexus first into a Forge and a gateway, but this time he starts off with 2 gateways, piling his choke, the usual 458 Protoss build that he usually is supposed to be doing, that he didn't do in the last 2 games. And we're gonna see a Nexus coming out once he hits that 400 mineral, that magic 400 mineral mark, that indicates it's time for a Nexus. And he goes for 2 Zealots first. Alright, that's a little bit of a mix-up. Most of the time they go for the Nexus first, but this time he goes for the 2 Zealots first, followed by the Nexus. A slight variation. He just knew I was about to say it. He knew it. So to throw me off, he switched it around. Right, so scouting happening around the map. Zealot, SCV is out, Marine is out. Marine goes cross-map to scout for a mid-build. There's no mid-build, so he's going to scout this bottom there. And tOki went for only 2 barracks, so he's not that offensively capable. He doesn't have a gas yet either. He's just blocking up the hole in his front. Marines can walk in between the depots. Zealots cannot, so he's going to place those Marines behind the depots once he knows where the Zealots are coming from. And he has found out where the Zealots are coming from, but he's going to try hunting for that probe and deny that probe access from going into his base because he saw that probe with his SCV. Marine is running circles, getting information. The recon guy is just getting valuable information. Forge is down, no cannons in the choke yet, more Zealots are being produced. Marine is just going to keep walking circles for a little while longer, and unless that happens once or twice more. Just has to add a lot of shift command movements into the mix. Zealots still happily chasing. Kind of like Tom and Jerry. Ooh, it got stuck behind the gateway. An attack is happening on the front. But he sees that the front has just been plugged up. Just right before those Zealots tried to get in. He threw down the depot. Marines behind the depots. Marines can walk through the depots. Zealots cannot. Marines can fire from behind the depots. Zealots cannot. So he holds that without even having to try. But these 2 poor Marines cut out behind the walls, in front of the walls. It really depends on perspective though. In front or behind. From tOki's perspective, they were behind the walls. From 458's perspective, they were in front of the walls. Very important distinction to make. There's an academy coming down. Added on 2 command centers. Again, he's just going for that very hard, perhaps a little bit risky, 2 barrack build into the double command center add-on for that huge economy boost. There's the factory again, but 458 has mixed up his play this time around. There is the robotic facility, and there will be the Citadel off Dune right next to it. He's got a lot of overmind. Just notice he's not spending his minerals all that well. Not sure how he's doing it. Alright, he went for the double robotic facility, and now he's adding on pylons around his about his base. There's a gateway. So instead of seeing a Citadel of Dune, we're seeing a double robotics before the Citadel. Alright, that's a mix-up. I prefer the robotic facility into Citadel of Dune into another robotic facility into a support bay. attack on the front happening, but nothing happens. Aside from 84 damage on the depot, but the Marines behind the depot are just too strong for those Zealots to keep taking fire from. Stim upgrade has finished. Weapon upgrade is on the way. It's very early weapon upgrade for Marines. There's no add-on for his factory just yet. A lot of idle SCVs around the base. Why are these there? Are these gonna make... Right, those are gonna make starports. So he's doing the exact same build from 2 games ago, where he's going for very early mass starports. 3 starports. I'm calling it a mass starport because it's more than we usually see. Usually see just 1. Because starports defense is quite risky. Because you're gonna make raids, and raids aren't good against everything. But raids are good against shuttles. And that's the main point of this build. Right, so he's got Shuttle on the way, Reaver on the way, still doing his finished lags are on the way. And he's got Gravitic Boosters on the way for his shuttles. Marines are positioned out in the front, ready to strike. Or perhaps just to keep 458 on his toes, because 458 does not know what tOki has in his base. He never got in there. So tOki could be up to anything. Whereas tOki knows exactly what 458 is doing, thanks to these 2 scans that he just added on and started scanning with. He scanned the entire base of 458, at least the front and this area. So he knows that there's a shuttle there, or maybe the shuttle flew in there right after the scan's finished, but he knows that at least something is there. He knows the tech is here too. So he knows exactly which tech is up. There's 3 robotic facilities. That robotic facility has just been added on right after the scan. Storm upgrade is on the way. He loads up the Reaver. And he's trying to deal some damage in the front there because he knows those Marines were out. He catches 2 Marines out in the front. Both of the Marines die. Very unfortunate for those 2 Marines. But that's just the life of a Marine in StarCraft. Alright, 3 Reavers on the way. He's pumping. He's making tanks. Got siege mode on the way. No turrets out on the sides yet because he's going to rely on the vision provided by these Marines. So he can reposition his raids in time to catch those shuttles flying in. He's going for the late turret play. He's trying to cut a lot of corners, but he's trying to cut corners in a smart way. There's a thought process behind every single thing. He's not just haphazardly doing random moves. Right, Reaver's dropped in the front. Reaver's gonna take down the depots and open up a hole for these Zealots. Zealots aiding in taking down the depots. Depots goes down. Second depot goes down. And now they can free fire on... Well, actually, the raids end up rendering the attack pointless. I mean, not pointless, but rather ineffective. Aside from taking down those 3 depots, he didn't deal much damage because the raids took down the Reavers in the back and the shuttle in the back. Taking down the shuttle in the back means the Reavers are on slow movement and pretty much won't reach the choke itself or the units behind it. And then the raids take him down. Now a drop is coming in from the west side. Loaded up with a single Templar, a single Zealot. Oh, what? 2 Templars and 4 Zealots. He gets scouted. He gets spotted by the Marine. Zealot drops out to kill the Marine. Raids don't move yet. He didn't see it. He's not focused on it. He pulls his SCVs off his middle because he has all his SCVs hotkeyed. And a storm comes down on the SCVs, but he doesn't deal much damage. He tried to drop some. He tried to drop a Zealot on top of the SCVs, but the SCVs don't die to it, and I think he actually kind of missed with dropping the Zealot on top of the SCVs for the tank splash damage here. And the drop ends up dealing pretty much no damage at all, aside from taking down a couple of Marines, storming on a couple of SCVs here, but I think only 2 SCVs died there. This one's still on low HP, and he killed 2 turrets on the side, but tOki's already making new ones. This is pretty much an exact repeat of game number 1, but the difference being slight variations in the build for 458. tOki spotted the shuttles with a scan, or maybe a Marine that was here got killed by the Zealot. Alright, the shuttle's running away. The shuttle is coming in from the east side. There's a huge hole in the east side of tOki's base here. We'll see whether 458 is going specifically for that hole, or if he's going to fly through a turret. He goes specifically through the hole, but he gets spotted by a turret. There's a single Templar in there. SCVs dodge the drop. He gets a storm off on SCVs, but SCVs move out of the way. And they don't die. Now the drop is coming in from the west side. As the raids are misplaced because they had to move for the other shuttle. tOki moves, but he moves the wrong way. He moves back, and he gets a storm off, and he kills... Oh, he kills 38 SCVs. He didn't kill this side, he killed the other side. That's very unfortunate for tOki. tOki kind of had his focus somewhere else. And it ends up backfiring as he even accidentally or just made the wrong move and pulled his raids away from the shuttles. And it's basically too late with his response. Corsairs on the west side functioning as a distraction, but these shuttles on the east side get spotted by this marine and they have to fly away and go for another path into the base of tOki. tOki moving his raids around very, very aggressively, trying to look for the opening that the shuttles are going to come from. He assumes they're going to come from the top eastern side of his base, but 458 is going through a lot of effort to redirect his drop to the west side, where they regroup and rendezvous with these Corsairs. tOki has his raids closer to his minerals, so he can move them over in theory, but doesn't have vision over the hill. So he won't know the drop is coming in from the east side up until the moment it's over the hill and inside his base. And it's going to fly in over the top side here, where there are only 2 shuttles able to fire on the raids. But those 2 turrets will be focusing on the Corsairs. Alright, he scanned the Corsairs, so he splits up his raids and is going to take down these Corsairs. And 458 is once again forced to redirect his drop somewhere else. Right? But he's going to come in from the southeast. Flies in over a bunch of turrets. Raids are in the wrong location. Templars are going to come out. Templar comes out. Templar doesn't storm. Templar gets taken down by the combined fire of the Marines, tanks, and raids. He took down both shuttles with the raids really quickly, and only a single Templar got out. And he fights off the drop, although he was playing it on a knife's edge, but not pulling his SCVs off of his minerals. And in regards to earlier, he did lose a lot of SCVs, but he has 5 command centers, though he's only pumping from 4 of them to rebuild it. SCV. Alright, another drop comes flying in from the top east. tOki raids in the wrong position, pulls off his SCVs, very good move. And there are... Alright, Templars coming out now. Templars are gonna storm on themselves. Alright, so the Templars didn't get a storm off on the SCVs. He stormed his own Templars, and the Templars kind of went down before he could storm the SCVs as they pulled back onto the minerals. But I don't think he expected them to pull back to the minerals that early. And that's why he stormed on the SCVs here and on his own Templars. And those Templars wouldn't have lived for long, because he had to unload them. And there's a bunker here, and there's a tank here that would have taken them down anyway. So 458, again, unable to deal much damage, aside from that one drop that took down 38 SCVs. Aside from that, he hasn't been able to deal much damage afterwards. He hasn't been able to do material damage, he hasn't been able to deal bio damage either. So tOki is currently in a good spot, but he has been slowed down. He's only on 5 factories, of which 3 don't have an add-on. He's on 3 starports, but he doesn't have many upgrades on the way. Let's see, he's on 000, and his air and tank upgrades are almost finished for weapons. The armor has only just started. He's now, because his income is back up, he has now started adding on more turrets, more buildings, and he started fortifying his choke as well. He's not producing anything from his factories. Does he know that carriers are on the way? I'm not sure. But a drop comes in from the top east side once again. That's proven to be the weakest side for tOki. tOki pulls off his SCVs a little bit late, but he pulls them off in time. No SCVs, a single SCV dies to the storm. And a bunch of zealots out there in the top. Alright, another Templar is there, but it only kills 5 SCVs because there were only 5 SCVs left on the minerals, as most of them were pulled off. But this entire top east corner gets cleaned out. 3 turrets went down, a scanner went down, now he's hammering away at the CC. Command center taking a lot of damage from these. Well, not that much, but you know, relatively, it's a lot. Gonna have to repair it at some point. But he has 66 SCVs left on his minerals. 99 probes on the minerals for 458. That's a little bit too much. He's gonna have to kill some of those in the near future. And another drop is being prepared, but the drop is... Does he know it's empty? Oh, it's not empty. Alright, just my fault. I clicked on the wrong one time and time again. Drop is gonna come flying in from the west-north side. He comes in. Raids are not in position to intercept. SCVs don't move off. SCVs move off, but SCVs die to the storm. And once again, he loses 40 SCVs to a storm because of a late reaction. If only he had this engineering bay placed right here, he would have been able to respond in time. But not having an engineering bay, not having the engineering bay placed here, pretty much leaves this entire area dark. And 458 found the way, because he has this observer there. He found the path thanks to his observer. He knows that there's no vision here for tOki, so he found the path to fly through. Because he knows that there's a barrack over there, so he knows that tOki can respond to that side quicker than the other side. tOki is now facing carriers while unable to produce the units required to fight against carriers. Which upgrades are on the carriers? Let me see. He's in 1114 is air upgrades. Level 2 air upgrades are on the way. Both shields, weapons, and armor. Corsairs are going to regular. Reconnaissance. Yeah, one of those two words. I kind of forgot the word. English is not my first language, so excuse me for that. Wraiths flying around. They're gonna find the Corsairs, and they're gonna start a beef with the Corsairs. But the Wraiths pretty much immediately go down. This one's has 1 HP left. He isn't bothering on taking it down. He's just gonna let those carriers do it. No, he isn't even taking it down because it is cloaked. All right, that makes sense. So he pulled the Observer so he could kill the 1 HP cloaked Wraith. All right, he's clearing out the sides, denying tOki vision over the hills. Now he's gonna take down these turrets. Turrets are only able to fire on the interceptors because they can't focus on the carriers because the carriers are on the hill. Valkyrie's focusing on interceptors. Interceptors die very quickly to Valkyries, but interceptors get produced pretty quickly too. There's a lot of carriers there in the mix. Oh, my throat isn't feeling too good. I think I'm a little bit under the weather or something. Maybe just a dry throat from not drinking enough water. Alright, he comes in from, once again, the weak side, although this time it has been fortified a little bit. There's so many Corsairs and carriers that this is pretty much still a weak side. And 458 flies in and once again goes for the command center, and the command center goes down very quickly, but now he's got a repair off on the command center. Will the repair be enough? The repair will not prove to be enough, as the Valkyries are not focusing on the carriers but on the interceptors instead. Now a drop comes flying in as well, and the drop is... There's Templar, but all the SUVs get pulled off the middle, and he storms... he storms on a refinery. Nice. Anyway... This situation is looking very, very dire for tOki because these carriers are not dying as quick as they should be dying. And there's not a storm. Alright, he has a second Templar in. A second Templar in the shuttle. Storms the SFVs again. SFVs go down. tOki dies in the third game as well. So that's 3-0 for 458. PVT, PVC, PVT. This one was a bit quicker than the first game because tOki didn't manage to keep his SCVs alive for as much as he could in the first game. He was just very late on his responses, had his Wraiths in the wrong position every single time, and didn't have vision over the hills. That was pretty much his own doing because he didn't hover buildings over the hills in time. He was playing to cut corners, probably to see how many corners he could cut in order to gain an advantage over his opponent, but all those corner cutting ended up being in his enemy's favor, because it just means that there are more openings for your opponent to exploit. And I can understand the thought process behind trying to get as much as possible out of as little as possible, or out of a risky move. But it ends up not working. And as we've seen in the past on the videos I've casted, in most scenarios, not cutting corners is the way better option instead of cutting corners. But anyway, that's game number 3. I'm gonna go straight into game number 4 because I still feel my voice can handle it today, and it's kind of fun. So yeah, game number 4 ends here. Game number 3 ends here, and game number 4 starts in the moment you click on the next video. Bonjour.